Welcome to Heat Check, presented by BetMGM here on at Action Network HQ. It's 6:30. We got big playoff games tonight. Already a lot of drama. We're only one game in to some of these series. And before we even get started, we got late breaking news. Julius Randle of the New York Knickerbockers has been named the most improved player. No shock there. Not even listed on the board when the season began. He went off at like minus 1,000 by the time the season ended. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Lakers. We're going to talk about the Clippers. We're going to talk about the games tonight. Windows are open. Lineups are being locked. All the research, all the data, all the news, all the information available in the free Action Network app. Download it. I am joined, as always, by my professional betting friends, Preston Johnson, Justin Phan. I'm blowing up the lineup, blowing it up, Christina Ventura. Give me your take right now. Preston, you first. Justin, on Julius Randle winning most improved player.
I think your Chicago Bulls Zach LaVine was robbed. I think it's a travesty. I think Randle deserved it down the stretch. I was shilling for LaVine for as long as I could publicly on Twitter. And once he was out for protocol and some other reasons for a few weeks down the stretch, Randle took it away, and former Los Angeles Laker. So I'm proud of him. All these award winners from the Lakers past seasons, it's fun kind of watching them bloom, even if it's a few years later than anticipated.
And I know you're this close to being a Knicks homer, so I don't even care what your opinion is on Julius Randle. What I do want to get to, more importantly, is look, the Lakers lost the first game in a series they were favored in. The Clippers lost the first game in a series they were favored in. The Nuggets lost the first game in a series they were favored in. Tell me right now, Fan, you start. Of those teams that lost the first game, which ones do you think now have the best value?
Yeah, I think of those teams, the Clippers are at least concerning for me. And I think we have a tendency to overreact to these one game samples. And it really is just like shooting variance. We see in these series yesterday with the Bucks and the Heat, with the Nuggets and the Blazers, what happened in game one versus game two. We saw the shooting from beyond the arc normalize. Series leveled up. I see the same thing with this Clippers series. And for me, when I'm looking at this series, I want to look at the mistakes that each team made in game one and identify which ones are correctable and which ones are legitimately concerning to their future in that series, right? And a lot of the Clippers mistakes are correctable. 3-point shooting normalizing, how they can adjust to playing and guarding Luka, way too much Patrick Beverley, way too much Ivica Zubac in that first game. I think we'll see a lot more Kawhi Leonard on him in game two, and they can make tweaks to that rotation. We'll see a little bit more Terrence Mann, I think, instead of Reggie Jackson. So a lot of things I think we can see adjustments on the Clippers side with Ty Lue. I am concerned about the Lakers the most out of those three teams. Want to get Preston's take on them, how they're going to deal with the physicality of DeAndre Ayton, Andre Drummond and Montrezl Harrell versus 80 at the 5. Want to get his thoughts on that Lakers price, where they're at, if they should be favorites, all that.
Preston, I do want to hear it. Let me foreshadow for a second. We do have a big poll at the end of the show that is going to pit Anthony Davis against LeBron James. You guys voted. We're going to discuss it, but Preston, please answer Justin's question.
I think it is the series that is the least handicapable, if that is the correct word, based on a lot of the reasons behind Chris Paul's shoulder. I think there's some uncertainty there on what his effectiveness will be, unless you know that he's completely fine and it's just a little sore. Like maybe that really is the case. I know that's what they're trying to push, but if I'm the Lakers, I'm playing off in the paint and letting Chris Paul shoot threes, or at least daring him to. And if he can't make them, or just won't even take them in the first place, then you have a huge advantage there, which would benefit the Lakers. I don't think LeBron's 100% either. It was just one game, but I don't think he's quite there. It's going to take some time. So I think that's concerning on the Lakers side. I think Anthony Davis is, I just don't know what happened in game one, but I know down the stretch of the regular season, he had a 40-point game. He scored 37 and another 32, I think he'll be okay. I think he'll show up. So I'm not 100% sure on the direction of this series, because I think it's dependent on how Chris Paul and LeBron look in the end. But I will say this, Vogel last year against the Rockets, after the Rockets beat the Lakers in game one going small, Vogel said, hey, JaVale, Dwight, like you guys just aren't going to play in this series. Now, to some extent, you need to have Drummond, I think, and maybe some Harrell because DeAndre Ayton's there. But I think they do need to make an adjustment in the sense that they either play AD at the 5 more often, or they actually play Marc Gasol, who knows how to rotate and is willing to jump out to the perimeter and isn't, ball hawking rebounds on misses, just standing in the key like Drummond tends to do. I think that's an adjustment that can be made that shifts where the series goes and, what the Lakers can ultimately do defensively, even if Chris Paul is healthy. So that's what I'm eyeing, but I didn't think there was any value there. And Justin and I actually talked as soon as the Clippers lost game 1 to Dallas a little bit. And I wasn't in front of my computer to check. And I was like, minus 140. How did they reopen it there? It just seemed so short. Sure enough, it was. Now, granted, I personally thought it would be in the 200s. My projection, 65.7%. That the Clippers still win this series, which is about minus 192. So anything now I know is minus 150s generally. I still think that's cheap. I think the Clippers, and we're going to get to it a little bit too when we do betting is believing, but you can never overreact to just one game and one sample, and especially in today's NBA with all the 3-point variants.
My only takeaway from what you just said was that you and Justin spoke after the game. Somehow I wasn't invited into that conversation. And what's even more interesting to me is last week, when I specifically promised I would stay up for the entire Lakers-Warriors game until I felt the over-under on Steph's total points at 36.5 was decided. It wasn't decided until a free throw got him to 37 with 2 minutes left. I stayed up. I slacked. Nobody responded to me. I'm just going to say that right now. So you guys keep having your little private chats. Let's go to betting is believing.
I forgot
Preston?
about that.
Yeah.
I remember them coming in on my laptop, and then I actually never went back.
I stayed up late, like 3 hours past my bedtime. And we're going to get into that, and betting is believing. But Preston, you go first.
All right. It's going to be Clippers themed. I think now that it's up to -7, I prefer betting Clippers team total over 110.5 to laying 7 points. So that's the difference there. But, anyone that got the 6, I think that was a good bet. That's where it was earlier before some movement. And a lot of it, again, this is a lot of what Justin said, but a lot's being made of the Mavs defense from 3, and not even just in game 1, but I believe it's 5 games now all year. The Clippers have shot sub 30% from 3. And 3 of those 5 times they played the Mavericks. And so everyone's saying Dallas has solved the Clippers. They can't hit threes against the Dallas defense. For one, like a lot of teams have hit threes against Dallas. And what we know at this point in time is that 3-point defense or opponent's 3-point percentage is generally random. At least that's what we know historically. And so I think kind of too much has been made of the fact that the Clippers only shot 27%. And remember that same game, Luka went absolutely bonkers. He was hitting all the step backs that are extremely difficult. And I think he was 5 for 10 or 5 for 11 overall from 3. The team, the Mavs, shot 47% from 3 themselves. Dorian Finney-Smith was 4 for 5. Tim Hardaway Jr. hit a bunch of them. So there's going to be some 3-point regression. But even in that first game with 4.5 minutes left, the Clippers were up 3. Despite all of that, despite not playing Terrence Mann and playing a lot of Reggie Jackson minutes, Serge Ibaka hardly played in the game. I think there's a ton of moves they can make and adjustments to be made defensively with playing more Kawhi, Paul George, potentially man one-on-one with Luka to force more turnovers, or to send doubles, which gets the ball out of Luka's hands. So the Mavs are shooting sooner in the shot clock more frequently, which would also allow for more possessions for the Clippers. So it all kind of tends to an over at 110.5 for the team total. And I think that's better now that, the spread's at 7. I think that's closer to fair overall.
Well, look, if you prefer staying up super late, that's a perfectly fine bet. Justin, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Clippers -7. We're staying up late, baby. And a lot of the 3-point shooting. I want to hit that a little bit more. So the Mavs went 17 for 36 from 3 in that game 1, 47%, and the Clippers were 11 for 40. The Clippers had the 4th highest 3-point percentage as a team of all time this season. They're a really great 3-point shooting team, and for them to struggle like this is very uncharacteristic. And we can just talk about 3-point shooting in general, but you want to dive in a little bit on how good those looks were, right? On the Mavs side, just 10 of their 36 attempts were wide open. On the Clippers side, 34 of their 40 attempts were either open or wide open. And they went 11 for 34 on those wide open or open attempts, right? 23% of their 3-point attempts in game 1 were wide open, the 2nd highest rate among all teams this season. So they were getting their looks. They were just missing a lot of them. And I touched on this in the open. I think a lot of adjustments are pretty easy, pretty straightforward for them to make. Patrick Beverley, way too small to be guarding Luka Doncic, as he told Beverley himself during the game. And Zubac got switched repeatedly, got targeted repeatedly on ISOs with Luka. I don't think that's going to happen as much in game 2. Tyler already talked about playing Marcus Morris a lot at the 5. I think that'll happen. That's the adjustment there. And a guy like Terrence Mann, right? He's not going to play more than like 5 to 10 minutes, but those minutes really matter. We saw that adjustment with the Nuggets on Dame Lillard last night, where they put Shaq Harrison in for a couple possessions, couple minutes at the end of the first half. Dame Lillard was absolutely going supernova. He like 8 threes in the first half. That couple minute stretch where Shaq Harrison was in there dogging Dame Lillard, he didn't score at all. So with Dame, with Luka, these little pockets of minutes is playing time where you can kind of slow him down a little bit, get that offense under control, under wraps. I think Terrence Mann can have that similar impact, and he'll eat into some of the minutes of Patrick Beverley and Reggie Jackson this one. So I thought they generally did a decent job on Luka in game 1. He shot 18 jumpers. Only 2 of those were wide open. They just didn't have the proper length on him, right? I think Kawhi Leonard over Beverley, over Zubac will make a big difference. So they did a great job limiting him in his drives. And honestly, this is like almost like a must win for the Clippers. Like teams that go down 2-0 in the NBA playoffs are historically 93.4% to win the series. So they get down here, they drop 2 games up front. I don't think they can really recover. So I expect them to come in this game, make the necessary adjustments, start making their threes, and, win big. I expect this to be a blowout.
Someone's doorbell is ringing. It might be, Ty Lue, because he's so glad that he has a Clippers cheering section that is going to be fanboying for him and his team tonight. Does anybody need to get up and get the door?
That wasn't me. I'm not even at home, so we're good.
Yeah. So you guys are both on the wrong game. I get all the Clippers love. If we're not betting the Nets as big favorites over the Celtics tonight, then what you're doing is you're leaving some green on the table. Okay. Because I said green. Okay. Here's the problem. The Celtics did all they could to stay close in that game against the Nets, and the Nets just had way too much firepower. All right. Robert Williams, Time Lord, unless he Time Lords himself into playing 48 minutes and has 20 blocks, I don't know how the Celtics are going to stop this team. And unless Jason Tatum all of a sudden has 70 points, I don't know how the Celtics are going to keep up with the scoring of this team. As my friend Tay likes to say, the Celtics are in trouble, trouble, trouble.
Yeah, I like the Nets here too. You look at the game, and both teams only had 7 wide open 3-point attempts. It was like a clinic in tough shot making. And when you're coming into a fight of tough shot making without Jaylen Brown and against Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, you're gonna lose, right? And I thought KD did a phenomenal job guarding Jason Tatum in game 1. Really limited the wide open looks he had. He only had 1 wide open shot attempt. Really limited his drives. And yeah, I mean, top end talent edged the Nets, and then depth edged the Nets as well. I mean, I really don't see. They shot super poorly in the first half and still ran away with it in the second. This team is just
scary. Yeah.
You can't bring a knife to a gunfight, as my close friend Sean Connery once said. Guess what, guys? It is time for our favorite segment. We are going to go to the wheel. This is when the 2 experts in player prop betting are given a player and a stat, and they have to decide if it is going to go over or under that stat. Producer Christina Ventura, please spin the wheel for our friend Preston, who will be up first. Luka Doncic, points, rebounds, assists, over, under 45.5, Preston.
Well, we're pro Clippers today, so I have to go under the 45.5. And I'll say this, there was a direct quote in regards to why Kawhi Leonard didn't see much coverage. This is directed towards Tyronn Lue. In that first game again on Luka Doncic, and he says, I think you guys are all going to get what you want come Tuesday, meaning like you're going to see Kawhi the former, LeBron stopper. If we've ever seen someone at least close, him, maybe Andre Iguodala to some extent, I think that's going to go a long way. And if it's not him, then I really do think Terrence Mann will get some run, and maybe it's Paul George instead of, them going big and him beating Zubats and switches off the bounce. Like, I think there's going to be a lot more flexibility and adjustments made. So Luka, even if he gets his rebounds and assists, which he'll do, he eats those up. I just don't anticipate him, getting the points and hitting 5 of 11 step back threes again. And, at least not at that clip. And, the Clippers are going to make him work for it again. So I'll go under the Luka 45.5.
I can't believe in this entire show so far, with all this Clippers love, two guys like you who are so connected to the social media world have only made one mention of the most trendable player on the Clippers, Playoff P. Justin, it is your turn. We are going to spin the wheel for you. Christina Ventura will spin the wheel right now, and let's see who you get. Rajon Rondo, over under 8.5 assists. No, over under 8.5 points. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under here. I don't feel great about it, fading playoff Rondo, who showed up in a big way in game 1. But the math just tells me that this is a comfortable under. I haven't projected for 6.6 points. He shot 3 for 4 from 3 in game 1. I obviously do not expect that to continue. He'll play a decent role, and it's tough to fade playoff Rondo, especially in this spot, but I got to do it. I don't think the shooting is going to be there on the same level that it was in game 1, and the usage was about where I expected it to be. So just gotta close my eyes and fade playoff Rondo and hope for the best.
Playoff Rondo actually is something special. I love it as a basketball fan. Here's a random question. Yes or no answer. I don't need explanation. Yes or no answer. Christina, I'm sorry, I'm going off script again. Preston, you go first. Rondo, Hall of Famer, not Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Justin, Hall of Famer, not Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Probably I should have just said Hall of Famer, yes or no. But you're saying yes. Preston saying yes. All right. It's my turn to spin the wheel. Let's see what we got. Joe Harris, 3-pointers made, over under 2.5. There is definitely a love affair going on in my house with Joe Harris, because it's the only reason my wife wants to watch the Nets games. She truly loves him. She loves watching him play. I have Joe Harris going over 2.5 3-pointers made. Let me give you a stat right now. In the 9 games that the big three have played together, Joe Harris has played in 8 of those games. You'd think, oh my God, Joe Harris, he's not going to get the ball. He's not going to get a lot of touches, not going to get a lot of shots. In those games, he shot 57 threes and he's made 25. That is 3.1 3-pointers made per game, which is basically his average when the big three aren't playing. So to me, he's in a great spot. He will be a guy who is likely left open while everybody else is paying attention to the big three. And nobody puts Joe Harris in the corner unless he wants to be there because it's the most efficient 3-point shot in basketball.
Yeah, I'll side with you on this one. I got one number for Joe Harris, is 37. That's the amount of minutes he saw in game 1. That's massive. So he did a really good job on Evan Fournier in that matchup, shut him down. I think continue to expect heavy minutes from Joe Harris along with the big three. So with that minutes projection, I think the over is the right play. Had a bit of an off shooting night in game 1. Expect that to reverse in game 2.
What's interesting about Joe Harris also is he's becoming much more effective at driving the basketball and not just being a guy who's playing on the wing. Like, he really gets into the creases of that zone defense. I love Joe Harris. Huge fan. All right. Final segment. Here we go. We are going to play Fade the Public. We put out a poll into the field on Twitter earlier today. We asked you, Anthony Davis or LeBron for the game. They were both listed. You voted. We will tell you if we agree or disagree. A bare minimum of you voted for Anthony Davis, 52%, to get more points than LeBron James. Preston, what say you? You're up first.
I am going to side with the 52%. I think, look, you look at the markets, the line, last I at least checked, it's exactly the same. Like, a lot of times in these questions, you can just side with the market that you know is pretty efficient. That's going to be right more often than not. They're both at 24.5. I'll just go AD in the sense that, I think there was sentiments after game one, not only from Anthony Davis, being upset with himself, but even Drummond made a point to say that they needed to get AD going sooner. And there was another player as well that was quoted saying something similar about focusing, game two on getting Anthony Davis involved. And so if that's the case, it's probably going to be early. And once he gets in a rhythm, again, he had a few of those games down the stretch in the regular season. I think 3 of the last 4, he scored 32 plus. So he'll be able to do that. And I envision his usage just going up slightly more than typically we've seen for him. So that being said, and with LeBron's injury concerns, some degree there, I'll just go with Davis.
Fan?
Yeah, I'm going to fade the public here. I don't feel great about it. I think it's pretty close. Obviously, the prop is exactly the same. I have LeBron actually projected for 1 more point at 25.9 versus AD at 24.9. I just look at the matchups here. I'm a little bit more afraid of the AD matchup against Aiden, how he got manhandled inside. You kind of dig into the metrics of how LeBron and AD performed offensively in game one. I'm more concerned about AD. Only 4 of his shots were within 8 feet. He was relegated to being a jump shooter. I think him playing at the 5 will help him a little bit more in that respect, but is that really the answer? They've lost the 80 at 5 minutes against the Suns in game one handily. So I'm not even convinced that's the answer to their problem with Aiden. So you look at LeBron, Mikal Bridges did a great job on him, but some of the stuff there is 0 points on his 13 drives. Some of the other, metrics there, I expect to normalize. LeBron led the team with a 26% usage rate. I expect that to continue. And they lost the LeBron minutes when he was off the court and AD was on the court. They got killed. So they're going to need LeBron to play a little bit more. I expect at least 36, 37, maybe gets up to 38, 39, depending on his health. So I'm going to go with the better player here with LeBron, the player that's needed more for this offense.
I am going to go with Anthony Davis. I'm going to side with Preston here. I keep thinking about one series in that opening game between the Suns and the Lakers. Anthony Davis rebounded a ball very close to the basket, had a chance to go up. DeAndre Ayton completely sort of paralyzed him from being able to get any offensive movement. And the announcers were talking about how Anthony Davis looked out of sorts. He was 5 for 21 in the game or something to that extent. And all I could think to myself is, oh my God, this is when Frank Vogel realizes we need to change our lineup. We need to put him in a better position to score. We need to get Anthony Davis into the game earlier. He needs more help getting into the game than LeBron James does. Therefore, I think this is a big game for Anthony Davis. Preston, if you want to call me after the game, we can talk about it. Imagine
just hit me up on Slack and I'll probably get back to you.
Yeah, maybe you'll get back to me the same way that maybe you'll join our production calls. So
that's fair.
So
you guys switched the day today. I got to throw it out there. You guys did switch to Tuesday.
Shots fired.
Let me recap where we're at. Preston, you like the Clippers over 110.5 team points. You like Luka under 45.5 points, rebounds, assists combined. You, like me, like Anthony Davis against LeBron James for more points scored in the game. Fan, you like the Clippers -7. You like Rondo over 8.5 points. You like
under
8.5 points.
Rondo.
I should put on my glasses. And you like LeBron James over 24.5 points over Anthony Davis. I like the Nets -9 because I know I can stay up for that game. I like Joe Harris over 2.5 threes. And I also like Anthony Davis. Boys, I'm really excited for at least one game tonight that I'm going to watch. And I'm wishing.
I'm surprised for the last 80 LeBron question you didn't force a Nets Celtics player in there, so you could actually say it.
I thought about making the whole poll Nets Celtics, but I decided to do good for the people. Yeah. That's what I'm about. I'm good for the people. Listen, people, I want you to enjoy the games. I want you to be profitable. I hope our advice is good for you. We will have another Heat Check on Thursday night, 6:30, previewing the slate. Presented by BetMGM. Talk to you later.